Hi guys, I'm trying to get some mindful creative moments after my main Facebook account's been hacked, and I'm grateful for the sympathy of the police. I've not really been back in touch with us, but with them, but they told me to if nothing worked out, because I asked Facebook merely to look into this. It's they've said that they are William Edwards, and my Facebook account, strangely enough, as I'm not trying to change my gender, is under the email address William Edwards, and I think it's williamadwards.15.gmail.com, because miraculously I managed to see that, but I can't somehow, despite my requests, change my email address back. It's got all my family photos and most of my friends that I've known a long time on it, and plus maybe loads of friends, but fair enough, they're all friendly. I don't think it's probably anyone on the list that's done this, but they have complete ownership over hundreds of family photos and photos of me, 9 business pages, created poems in Penny Davis poetry anthology, and pages that I've set up, fun facts about dogs. That's all my stuff, my charcoal drawings. It's heartbreaking, and it is. I had so many good business ideas. I've got my husband partner page on there as well, a couple of those, and they could also potentially scam people. They're biding their time, but they will try, and with people that don't know me that well, but have been friends through mutual interest groups, etc. They could potentially scam, or some of my friends might think I'm not this type of person that is, that would ask anyone for help, even in the most dire circumstances. I just wouldn't do that. Not on Facebook. And they could pretend they're me and potentially blackmail my friends, and that they were trying to find out how my friends first got to know me, so that they could have a real go at stealing my identity. So scamming was obviously in the back of their minds, even though I've been really angry and upfront about it and got onto my own pages, but I can't actually own my own pages now, even though Facebook must know, unless God knows, they've got so many people, haven't they? But I've been a digital creator with a business portfolio for over 18 months now, maybe 2 years. So, and also my main Facebook account, I've had it since 2010. So, and it's always been the same email address, and it's had the same number for most of that time too. So surely common sense, or are they in league with this person that's it might be because it's all AI and it's meta, but it can't just rob someone of their family photos and business pages like that and just get away with it when they put so much effort in. It's all their family photos there too. Some of them that I own, that I prefer friends that have known me a long time to just look at. My friends I've known a long time I can't communicate with, so there is it's definitely affected my well-being in that way too, and it's just not right. I've got spare accounts, but they haven't got that information on, and they haven't got most of my friends on, and my friends might think, oh, that's not me anyway. Those are just spares. So, and one's my dog. So, it's that was just set up in memory of my dog. It's not got much on it, to be honest. The other one's an avatar, and it's not got much on it either. Just for fun, but most of what's very important and essential to me in life is on that main one. And my groups, all my quality of life. I'm trying to be cheerful because I've been through such hard times. I've had, like I say, I've had skin grafts on my torso, which affected my immune system, ran me down, suppressed my bone marrow. I've looked after someone who died of lung cancer. That was close. And but you know, through their terminal illness, and that we were engaged, that my dad was terminally ill before that, and right when that was heart disease, leaking valve. Before that, he had we thought my dad could potentially die from cancer when I was 6, but I was very immature then. And I've my latest partner died in tragic circumstances, and he may or may not have taken his own life, we don't know. But it looked, he had ideation, and he was found in a river. Okay. And I was supporting him because he had what seemed like PTSD, and there's a lot to support, but he was lovely, but you know, there's a lot to support there. And I suppose he kind of saw that after being a full-time carer for my fiance, I just got illness myself, which looked pretty scary, the place where the lumps were, but all that was removed, and the skin grafts caused sepsis. Then that caused problems with the immune, or suppressed the bone marrow a bit. So I was finding I'd get leukemia then. So that was about 12 years ago, something like that, or yeah, maybe a bit more. And then I had some people like bullying me, which I've not really. I've had a bit of passive bullying as a kid for being bright, but it wasn't to that extent. This was like psychological abuse, and they were in professional positions, but I think they may have been manipulated by my cousin, who had similar problems to my fiance, but upset he got a bit more psychotic. He got quite I had some sort of unpleasant experiences, like the Talented Mr. Ripley kind of thing, only not quite as extreme as that, thank God, but it was very controlling. And then I don't really think, I've always been very hard worker mentally. I was one of the few people to take a literature degree, so I was the school SWAT, and all through my school life, being an only kid, it was all about studying, and that took over. I really was, and still am, academic, and like I say, I've got all my biz pages and created poems in the hands of someone who even looks like they're trying to delete my poems, so that's kind of bullying too. I don't really need it right now after losing 2 partners, and then I had a problem with something that didn't. There was a life within me that didn't really get past the embryonic stage. So. But that's just another thing. At the time, I was more worried about my partner, which, well, obviously, because of the tragedy of what happened to him. So I've got photos of him, but mainly photos of all my deceased relatives, because most of my relatives have died, apart from my mum. But my mum and myself, the photos of me and her. I don't really need this, but I'm being strong as ever. So I've looked at some inspirational quotes and quotes to keep motivated, and quotes that will keep me spiritual, and because I've always wanted to help other people spiritually and keep them happy and motivated. They might be in a worse position than me. They could have less money or so I have a diary full of quotes from the great masters of the quote world, and they're very inspirational. There's a lot of influence from the States on, but not always. It's quite various, actually, various cultures. So even with people from the States, some of them are like American Irish and etc., etc., and they inspire me to be mindful. It's good that the police are looking into this and they've welcomed me to come back to them, rather than me having to necessarily go into the dark web, which, you know, I don't want to lose my money that way either. It's good that they've supported me, because it's cybercrime. It looks like it, because they're so stupid that they're just deliberately preventing access. They're not adding to my account, to my creativity, or adding any wonderful ideas. They're just deliberately doing nothing. This hacker is holding my account and not doing anything just for the fun of it. So it is like cyberbullying, and I could do without it. So I'm going to be persistent and keep going, because there's so much nonsense in the world right now and we could do without that. And if I speak up for myself, I'm speaking up for the other people, because they must be victims of it all around the world, not just school kids, everybody. And it's not on, you know, it's destructive, really, because why hack into somebody's account to just cruelly control them and prevent it is criminal behaviour. It's like I say, it's almost narcissistic, isn't it? It's theft, and it's psychological torment. So this isn't a nice thing to do. And maybe they're taking advantage of my generous character and my nice personality. Think, oh, well, so she can't get onto her own stuff. You know, she's worked hard on all her creative attempts. And the mindset of this narcissistic person is like, it's all mine. And I've like, it's almost like someone from a mad Shakespearean play or something else. Like they want what isn't theirs, and they want to steal that identity. And I was progressing on my ideas for business and my ideas to keep people happy and inspire them, and I can't do that. But the person that's holding this, they're not doing anything, they're just stupid. They think they're clever by bullying me, but actually this person is just stupid. I mean, who in their right mind, what decent person takes over someone's possessions and work like that, and even deletes a couple of poems and then, or prevents them from adding to their poetry anthology, which is their work and their creativity and their inspiration. Right, I've had my rant. So I've looked at these quotes from people as varied as Albert Einstein, to people that are less well known. The first quote I'm going to recite is the one from Albert Einstein, which says that we must learn from our past to make sense of the present so that we can hope for tomorrow. And I reworked them a little, and the quote is, we must learn from our past to make sense of the present so that we can hope for tomorrow. And I reworked them a little, and For instance, the Albert Einstein quote, I've used it to inspire me spiritually, and because I've got a degree in literature, I've kind of felt I should talk about this quote in a sort of slightly deeper but concise way to inspire other people. Not everyone will have heard of this quote by Albert Einstein. So when he says we must learn from our past to make sense of the present, to have hope for the future, it's basically, I've expanded on it to say that we must learn from our ancestors, and we must learn the tips of our lineage and tips from the days of yore, and keep hopeful for the nexus, the future bliss. And then I've just gone back to what he said basically in this quote, that we must live for tomorrow. Okay, so that's the very first quote I looked at from my online diary. And then the next quote, I think that's by a guy called Pete Senger, who's an American, and it starts off, I've reworded it somewhat, to say that the greatness inside you starts off tiny and as insignificant as the inner child. So basically he's saying that we have to take small steps to get where we are and to get onto something big in life. That's what we must do. So I found that quote quite inspirational as well. So what's the next quote? I'm going to have to look at my other tablet to do this. Okay. There was a kind of sort of joy, from sorrow to joy quote, and I'll get back to you and tell you who it's from. Where there is dark, but I thought it was very similar to the religious quote, where there is darkness, let there be light. Where there is sorrow, let there be joy. I think they got the idea from that person, but they are wanting us to learn the art of gratitude for ourselves, and for ourselves, for our own words, for our own bodies. And so gratitude has to come for the authentic self, and not for somebody or someone else that you aspire to be, because you will never be them. Okay, that's the one thing I want people to be inspired by. And I'm going to just go through the first three quotes that I've mentioned again. So first of all, Albert Einstein, learn from yesterday, live for today, and hope for tomorrow. Yeah, that was right. I was right about this Pete Senger, but the guy that I think based his quote on the Bible was a guy called Steve Maraboli. And going back to my inspirational reworking of inspirational quotes in my diary, there was another quote about keeping happy and mindful, and I've reworded it and recreated it by having a kangaroo at the beginning of the quote. And the quote, and my reworking of the quote is: jump on board a boat, walk along a riverside, admire nature, and make every day the chance to be the most beautiful in your life. And I think you all know the quote that I'm sort of, or you've heard of the quote, if not the quotee of this, of that little ditty. So, which would probably be, um, Mark Twain, give every day a chance to become the most beautiful of your life. So going back to my own thoughts on the matter. So that was very good, wasn't it? Jump on board a boat. And he had a great love of nature as well, Mark Twain, and the countryside. So it was kind of funny that that he was a total humorist, and the fact that I had a kangaroo, thought of a kangaroo icon before the word jump is quite cute, isn't it? Then another quote, keep your thoughts positive and be a positive action plan in order for the fruition of positive results. Okay, that makes sense, doesn't it? But which person from my diary did I use to reword that quote and put it into, I think it was actually someone called Maria V. Snyder. She just basically said positive thoughts lead to positive results. But I think my English literature degree helped a little there, because I put positive thoughts lead to a positive action plan. Keep your thoughts positive and be a positive action plan in order for the fruition of positive results. Okay. Another one here. John Lennon said, everything will be okay. Growing up in the best of luck. If things need to be improved, you must still keep going until you reach your destination. And I feel that was prophetic. As love conquers all, eventually. Prophetic. It was so sad, wasn't it? The way John Lennon's life was taken from him. Such an inspirational guy at the age of 42. And he seems to, the quote is quite poignant, isn't it? And I've also spoken about Winnie the Pooh. Why do people like Winnie the Pooh stories so much? The reason is that Pooh spoke the truth, and Pooh guided Christopher Robin to do the same. When we stand alone this is my thoughts on the matter, when we stand alone in our true identity, free from the ego, free from the crowd, and in our authentic selves, we are in unity in the cosmos. So, in the words of Christopher Robin, thank you to A.A. Milne, we are braver than we first believed, stronger than we seemed, and smarter, and a whole lot smarter, I think, than we think we are. And that is the crux of the matter, isn't it? We're insecure, and we look for other things outside ourselves to make ourselves more secure, but they don't work, do they? So thank you, Christopher Robin, aka A.A. Milne. Okay. Now we go on to Abe Lincoln. Of course, Abe Lincoln said the best way to predict the future, I really admire Abe Lincoln, by the way, was to create it ourselves. If we don't map out our journey with purpose on our path, our path is lost to us, and we won't climb that ladder of success. Instead, we'll stick right where we are, potentially in a rut on the ladder. So you've got to move on up this ladder to be successful. Okay, don't die on my tablet. I have to keep going through this frigging password. It's so terrible. But that's, at least I've got a security system in place. It keeps going off on me, and I have to kind of go through the password again. So we want to Abe Lincoln, weren't we? So by making a game plan, we can foresee the future with optimism. I did this a few days ago, just before Abe Lincoln's birthday. I think I wrote this on with the help of his quote and the inspiration from him. I did this on the 12th of February, 11th of February, I should say, which is just one day before Abe Lincoln's birthday. Okay, so who's the next great person that I'm going to talk about? Okay, George Bernard Shaw. So we've got somebody British for a slight change here. George Bernard Shaw was a famous playwright, and he was a Fabian left-wing writer along with Beatrice Webb. So I know this already from my own studies. He was responsible also for the idea, as some of you might know, behind that great musical My Fair Lady, which was adapted for the musical stage from his play Pygmalion. He was very much ahead of his day, and he believed we were the free will creators of our future life paths, which in fact we are, so that was all very honest, and we didn't need to resign ourselves to a fated destiny. The way I look at it, and what I put here, is that we're not lost souls who need to find ourselves. As I've said before, we're old souls, we're authentic. We need to create our life journeys, which is what he said concisely in his quote, by inspirational creative means. We are all born to create, even if it feels as down to earth as baking a cake in an oven. We're still creating something, aren't we? Whatever we create. So we don't need to put ourselves down. It's just so much our unique creation is a great work of art. You know, perhaps it's just as great in its own microcosm as Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa, or a splendid piece of literature by Shakespeare, for instance, or a rousing symphony by Beethoven. We are each made to create our own uniqueness in whatever way, large or small. Another famous American here, Wayne Dyer, the spiritually minded self-help speaker and author. Perhaps he first explained the concept of external circumstances being beyond our locus of control, but the idea that mindful practice is not outside our control and ready for each of us is a good way to look at things. When he made this famous quote that we can't always control what goes on in the outside, but we can always control what goes on in the inside, that's when we make that conscious choice to improve ourselves. Okay, maverick entrepreneur Oprah Winfrey got to be successful through her own personal brand, which revolved around learned optimism and positivity, as highlighted by Martin Seligman. And in her particular character or personality profile, that idea is manifest. And her below quote delineates the more optimism you have in life, the more you will ultimately succeed. And it's worked for her, hasn't it? So in other words, the more you praise and celebrate your life in a happy and positive way, the more reasons you will find to celebrate. So Oprah Winfrey, your precise quote was, the more you praise and celebrate your life, the more there is to celebrate. Yeah, you will find this, because I do. So let's keep our heads held high, whatever the circumstances. Jim Ryan, I originally thought was a martial arts pioneer, but he is in fact or was an American 1500 meter runner, silver medalist, and he was in the Senate for a short time as a Republican. And he feels that too, if you adopt a routine and keep to it, then you'll win. I don't think those that was the precise quote, but that's what he's saying here. I'll get back to you on that later. Valerie Bertinelli, who is now 63 years old, I think, is an American actress, again, an American and TV personality. Happiness is a choice. There's going to be stress in your life, but it's your choice whether you let it affect you or not. I think that's a very direct, profound, motivational, and kind of, you know, don't be sad, just get out there and do it thing to say. Another guy, I didn't know who Joel Osteen was. He says, be happy, keep a smile on your face and a spring in your step. He's an American pastor, televangelist, and author who pioneered the word of faith movement and prosperity theology. That is, to be happy is to be abundant. So he wants us to live abundantly in ourselves and in our, I think in his mindset, in our own belief system, and be not afraid. So this advice I would give to everyone, don't be afraid or fearful. Meister Eckhart on the 14th of February reminded me to get up early. That way I can be a beginner every morning and not just talk about it. He was a famous German theologian and mystic who drew on different world faiths without knowing it really, but he spoke the tenets of later or faiths that were already present. Although persecuted, he remained strong in his spiritual vision and dedication to humbly accepting his part in the cosmos, a microcosm within a macrocosm. Michelle Obama, someone contemporary, is celebrated everywhere for being a strong woman in her own right and not simply the wife of the former President Barack Obama. She had the odds stacked against her as an Afro-American woman. Both aspects are aspects oppressed over the centuries, yet after fighting such odds, she came out the winner, and she informs us in our quote not to let anything distract us from our goals. These are as important as goals, as they're also important as life goals, personally to us, and goals are very much embedded in us as part of our purpose on life. The first part of her quote says that first and foremost, you must stay true to yourself, and this is the most important and motivational bit. That which keeps us on our authentic path, as without our authentic path, we are simply nothing. I think also Albert Einstein said, firstly, life is like a bicycle, and to keep our balance, we must keep on moving. This isn't simply practical advice about riding a bike, but it's very true in other areas of life too. To not move indicates a lack of flow and eventual stagnation, to my mind. It's an obvious failure to progress, and that failure can get to the very heart of our souls and undermine our life force and imbalances in mind, body and spirit. So to prevent this, we must ignore the things that get in our way, rid ourselves of anxiety, and stay healthy and balanced in MBS. This quote follows on nicely from the earlier quote by Michelle Obama, and its intrinsic message is to stay resilient whatever life throws at us, and that way we can gain success. Okay. Another inspirational quote is one by the Stoic and military tactician and diarist, because he wrote down a diary to help him remain stoic and to keep him ahead of his day, really. He was Marcus Aurelius, in case you didn't already guess, and he said each day provides its own gifts. He had to remain hopeful because he was militarily in charge of the whole of Rome, so he had to support Rome and uphold it when all around him there was a great risk of death and defeat and deceit, and he was grateful for each day of life he had as a soldier. and he obviously knew he could be a target for sabotage from the enemy, just as present day soldiers and